waiting for a track to explode on you. You stun if you want in your
Josh Fremd, I've been patiently waiting to put these paws on you in 3 rounds the entire hour right now. Welcome back to the MMA Plug, presented to you by DenverSportsBetting.com on 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports Radio. I'm your host, Jordan Kurtz, sitting here alongside my man, Josh Fremd. We're about to get into 3-round segment. This 3-round segment is brought to you by Mad Kingdom Insane Supply Company. For the latest and greatest in your fightwear, apparel, and fashion needs, make sure you go to www.themadkingdom.com.
In the latest news for celebrity boxing, we have future NFL Hall of Famer Frank Gore set to take on 3-time NBA All-Star Darren Williams on the undercard of the Paul vs. Fury fight next month. What are your thoughts on this? I know I'm excited for that one.
Just when I thought I was out, they bring me back in.
Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Yo, the celebrity boxing spectacle, we've said it over and over that we're kind of over it, but then they throw something else back out on the line, and I'm all the way back in for this one, Josh Fremd.
It's a tasty treat, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think this is going to be a fun one. You've just given me some information that I didn't know about, that now I have to do a little bit more research before I go and make a stupid opinion, but that's going to be a fun one. I normally would always side with a football player over a basketball player any day, but the information that you gave me makes it very interesting.
Yes, and what is that little bit of information nugget? Well, that happens to be that Darren Williams is one of the big investors and a co-owner of Fortis MMA, one of the biggest martial arts academies, fight gyms, if you will, in the entire country, and one of the top gyms in the game. So that might change things a little bit as far as this matchup goes. But got to see some video, too, as well. I agree.
After getting knocked out again at bantamweight at UFC 268, is it time for the 40-year-old former lightweight champion Frankie Edgar to retire?
Yes. Please, for the love of God, please just retire. I don't want to see another legend, another great MMA legend who I have grown up with, see their face turn into a bored monkey NFT.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to see that anymore. It's funny, but at what cost?
Exactly. And Josh, just as you said, that's now 4 of the last 7 fights where Frankie Edgar, the guy who at one point had the unbreakable chin, you know, the dude who had the wars with guys like Gray Maynard throughout the years and had an incredible championship run within the UFC. But he's now gotten knocked out in 4 of the last 7 fights, and what was really kind of mind-blowing to me the other night, Josh, was the size difference between him and Cheeto. And Cheeto was much larger than Frankie, but Frankie was at one point a champion at 20 pounds heavier.
Heavier, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the speed has finally no longer is no longer an advantage for Frankie, and just by the accumulation of the damage factor, yes, please, Frankie, please consider walking away.
Just do something else MMA related. Just don't fight anymore.
Yeah, just don't fight anymore.
Kamaru Usman is on a historic run right now and is on the fringe of breaking some all-time records. What else does the Nigerian Nightmare need to do to achieve GOAT-level status?
You know, I remember, Jordan, last week I made a comment like this, saying that if Kamaru gets past Colby, he might be up there. And then I went back and I did a little research on Rush St. Pierre, the almost consensus all-time GOAT at 170. Kamaru's on his way, but he has a few more tests. And we need, like, big tests, like, because George St. Pierre didn't fight no Leon Edwards. He had some tough fights to create his legacy. Right. I think we still need Kamaru to do that.
I think that he still needs a couple more big defenses, where that's where I think that, you have a guy like Vicente Luque, who's been just on I think he's on a 4-fight winning streak right now, or you continue to see the buildup of a buzzsaw like a Hamzat Chimaev. You have a couple of those unanswered questions that are still out there. We had a wrinkle that was potentially in the fold in Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but obviously Luque was able to best him.
That one.
So, I don't know. There's some guys that might be out there, but there's just not a lot there in the field for him.
You keep saying Hamzat, and it just brings me back to when they put Darren Till in with Tyron Woodley and they tried to shoot him up way too fast. I feel like if you put Hamzat in there with Usman, you're just throwing away your lottery ticket.
Potentially. But to be fair, Josh, the guy has more fights and he's been hit almost.
This is true. I can't argue with facts.
So that's the only thing that I pivot back to and keep on just kind of circling in the mention of Hamzat being that guy that just continues to climb up the way, and the way that Lee, like I say, that fight really kind of made me realize how for real Hamzat was, the way that he was able to beat Lee. Mm-hmm. Because Lee is no slouch. The earliest Lee had ever been finished in a fight was a couple of minutes into the third round, and he picked that man up against his will while looking the opposite direction, talking to Dana, screaming at him, for that matter, across the cage, runs over, slams him, doesn't break his conversation the entire time, and then goes on to choke the man unconscious.
Hamzat is sneaky big when you see him. Like, you're like, okay. But when you see him, that's a big 170er right there. That's a big welterweight.
So that's where I pivot back to him being in the conversation still at this point. But just like that, Josh, we are all out of time once again. We want to thank our guest of the week on the MyFitFoods hotline in Steve Mowry. Make sure that you check him out this weekend on the Bellator 271 card. We want to thank DenverSportsBetting.com CEO and executive producer in Ryan Garcia and Anil Apiro. We want to thank our man Danny Bailey behind the glass. We want to say give us a follow on social media, at Comments from the Peanut Gallery, at Josh Fremd MMA, and thank our sponsors in Grand Z Sports Casino, DenverSportsBetting.com, MyFitFoods, Eat Fit, Live Fit, Give a Fit, Comments from the Peanut Gallery, and the Mad Kingdom. I'm Jordan Kurtz. This is Josh Fremd. The MMA Plug is a pleasure to bring it to you every single week. Follow us along on social media, like we say, folks, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, little thick bitch, fine little mamacita. Always coolin' by the pool, drinking margaritas. Yeah, it's pippin' over here and we ain't trippin' over pesos. I know it's good now, but luego I can never show no love to a faker.